ultimate truth, don't really want the answer. I, for one, am a seeker, but I don't really know that I'm a finder. I like to dwell in the abstract of the big questions. The unknowns of the spirit I discovered can sometimes seem to me like when I'm at the dentist and I have an itch inside the Novocaine lip. It seems to be there, but it can't quite be reached. The great mystery can be tantalizing and motivating in that way. Secondly, I favor a soothing atmosphere and a certain sense of decorum. For me, these are conducive to spiritual experience. Autumn and I landed on the word gentleness for my sensibility. A peaceful presentation may appeal to me because it seems to offset what I consider the harshness of day-to-day life. Or it may harken back to my early years. I didn't exactly trudge 8 miles to school in the snow, but I am drawn to the old days and the old ways, probably because they were so formative. I like tradition in many respects. The limestone smell and feel and structures, the repetition of familiar phrases, prayers, or passages, fixtures and symbols like stained glass windows or hymns or bells or candles. I don't subscribe to the tenets of Christianity, or for that matter, any established religion. But I did love the little stone church that I was required to attend when I was 17 years old in England. It was ancient and pleasantly musty, with a small graveyard outside and a stirring echo inside. And the candle flames wavered in the draft. I lean towards subtlety in belief, practice, and observance. I appreciate the insights that we can glean from adjacent sources like literature or visual art, and of course, music. And I like indirect expression, allusion, suggestion, metaphor, precisely, I think, because they do allow for individual responses. Weeks, a month or two ago, I found in the course of rabbit holing, which is a new verb form that I just encountered yesterday, the name Mircea Eliade, a Romanian who was one of the 20th century's foremost historians of religion. Several aspects of his theory intrigue me. One, he says that the sacred is an absolute, that it's a real thing and it exists in and of itself, and it is not a byproduct of psychology, culture, or any other influence. The sacred exists at the border of our profane world, and sometimes it breaks through in any number of forms. Two, Eliade says that humans are religious beings, and in his writings, religious and spiritual, as far as I can tell, are more or less synonymous. And we have inherited this trait from our earliest ancestors of archaic times. We all have vestiges of religiosity, whether we know it or not, and whether we like it or not. Eliade offers several examples of this, and one that speaks to me is that we may experience nostalgia for significant places or moments of long ago, especially in childhood. This, he says, may be a longing for a lost time of origins, in his words. I definitely feel in touch with the sacred when in certain settings, whether they're mental or physical, especially if the record of those places and times is partly effaced in memory or reality. I can become convinced of their spiritual importance in some profound way, some enduring and incommunicable way. Third, Eliade says that we moderns retain some of religious man's primordial feeling for the sacredness of nature. All of nature, he says, is imbued with religious value and spiritual meaning. Eliade believes that everyone, no matter how overtly non-religious, is susceptible to what he calls the charms of nature. A stone is emblematic of the sacred by virtue of its hardness and its permanence. It suggests absolute being. A mountain rising up describes an axis between the heavens and our profane world. My own most sacred plaything here in Portland is the grasses in the seabed of Back Cove in Portland. They're visible or invisible, depending upon the tides, and sometimes when the tide is part way out or mostly in, they're in two worlds at once, breaking through. And I must say, I do have a thing for grass. It's the most memorable scent of my childhood. Lingering after the lawn was mowed, after grass fights, after playing with the neighbors, anything. These grasses change through the spring, summer, and fall, from brown and flattened in April to a bright early green, to a much more lush and deeper green in the summer. And then in the fall, they kind of dry out and get a little yellower and a little more brittle. I've asked myself what moves me so, and I think it's a few things. I see the whole life of these grasses in just a few months. They're silent, but they seem sort of busy. They're full and they're proud, and they're mysterious at the same time. They're even secretive. They literally go with the flow, responding as each moment requires. They abide through all weathers and all waters, fully exposed or breaking through or submerged. And they are there in the manner of the sacred, even when they can't be seen. There's much more to my path, of course, my personal path, but this is just a glimpse of the history, the mystery, the quietude, but also the quickening when it comes to the seeking and encountering of the sacred, and an inclination toward the intimate, the subtle, the symbolic, and of course the charms of nature, especially the grasses. So if we could, let's just take a few minutes, a few seconds really, of silence as we transition to our song, which I will introduce in a moment. This song is an instrumental guitar piece by Estas Tone, a Ukrainian musician, and it's pretty rousing, and it's called The Way of the Gypsy. And Autumn actually found him on the web, and we thought this would be an appropriate song and title in keeping with our service theme, because we in Interfaith are always travelers of a sort. The word gypsy isn't much in use, in polite usage anymore, but we are travelers, we are itinerant in some way. So the way of the gypsy.
Hello, everyone. It's my turn to share a reflection, and I'm just going to take a moment to take all of you in. I'm going to be reading my reflection, and I feel on Zoom, it's really hard to read and then look up and make eye contact, read and look up and make eye contact. So I just want to take in all your faces this morning. So good to see you all. Thank you for coming. All right, so I'm going to make an effort to stop, but I may not. So this is so fun this morning because Amos and I had not heard each other's reflections before right now. So Amos has not heard mine yet, and I had not heard hers. And in our first meeting, I told Amos about how I prefer spirituality with an edge, something packaged in a little bit of grit. By now, you can probably guess that if I like an edge, Amos values a softness. And if I like a grittiness, Amos cherishes a gentleness. It's true, we are very different people. What you're witnessing is a Zoom trust fall. We are holding out our arms in welcome, celebration, and support of the other's perspective. I don't know if any of you are fans of the HGTV renovation show Hometown, but the hosts talk about liking a little dinge. I couldn't agree more. So-called dingy spaces are where I most often meet the divine. And the divine seems to know that sometimes I need to be spiritually startled. Sort of like a spiritual slap in the face. Why, some might ask, would I want that? Why, some might ask, is that sacred? I can only speak for myself, but my mind is conditioned to seek distraction. It wants to be asleep, but my higher self wants to be awake. And because I am stubborn and thick-headed, sometimes I benefit from the spiritual equivalent of a double shot of espresso to remember who I am. In one of our meetings, Amos told a story about fire. It's not my story to repeat. But what struck me, and became a metaphor for our interfaith process, is that some people seek heat and some people seek warmth. The way the fire is experienced is different. But if you think about people gathered around a fire, the end result is the same. Some folks might want to rest their bare feet on the hot rocks surrounding the flames. Others might want to sit back from the intensity of the heat. But everyone has gathered around. It's a circle of belonging. That is what Amos and I created together, and what we want to extend here this morning. The thing is, even though we're very different, and even though we deliberated over every detail of this service, Amos heard me. I mean, really, really heard me. The morning after our first meeting, I woke up to a poem in my inbox. Amos said, I came across this poem and it made me think of you. I was stunned. I couldn't have picked a better poem if I tried. That poem is the contrariness of the mad farmer, and I would like to read it to you now. Just wait until you hear this poem, everyone. And if you know me, you're going to be like, good job, Amos. All right, so The Contrariness of the Mad Farmer by Wendell Berry. I am done with apologies. If contrariness is my inheritance and destiny, so be it. If it is my mission to go in at exits and come out at entrances, so be it. I have planted by the stars in defiance of the experts, and tilled somewhat by incantation and by singing, and reaped, as I knew, by luck and heaven's favor, in spite of the best advice. If I have been caught so often laughing at funerals, that was because I knew the dead were already slipping away, preparing a comeback. And can I help it? And if at weddings I have gritted and gnashed my teeth, it was because I knew where the bridegroom had sunk his manhood, and knew it would not be resurrected by a piece of cake. Dance, they told me, and I stood still. And while they stood quiet in line at the gate of the kingdom, I danced. Pray, they said, and I laughed, covering myself in the earth's brightness, and then stole off gray into the midst of a revel and prayed like an orphan. When they said, I know my Redeemer liveth. I told them, he's dead. And when they told me, God is dead, I answered, he goes fishing every day in the Kentucky River. I see him often. When they asked me, would I like to contribute? I said no. And when they had collected more than they needed, I gave them as much as I had. When they asked me to join them, I wouldn't, and then went off by myself and did more than they would have asked. Well then, they said, go and organize the International Brotherhood of Contraries. And I said, did you finish killing everybody who was against peace? So be it. Going against men, I have heard at times a deep harmony thrumming in the mixture. And when they ask me what I say, I don't know. It is not the only or the easiest way to come to the truth. It is one way. Wendell Berry describes a deep harmony thrumming in the mixture. Harmony is what emerged from our efforts to prepare this service, despite our contrariness. However, Amos also introduced the concept of resilience. Interfaith spaces are resilient spaces. There is room for gentleness, as well as room to be startled, among myriad other paradoxes. So, in celebration of the resilience of interfaith spaces, we'd like to share the song Resilient by Rising Appalachia. And I just invite you to enjoy a moment of silence while I cue that up. And I appreciate your patience this morning with my lack of Zoom technological experience.
I am resilient, I trust the movement, I negate the chaos, uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. 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 These times are poignant, the winds have shifted. It's all we can do to stay uplifted. Pipelines through backyards, wolves howling out front. Yeah, I got my crew, but truth is what I want. Realigned and on point, power to the peaceful, prayers to the waters, women at the center, all vessels open to give and receive. Let's see the system brought down to its knees. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm made of thunder, I'm made of lightning, I'm made of dirt, yeah, made of the fine things. My father taught me that I'm a speck of dust and this world was made for me. So let's go and try our luck, said I've got my roots down, 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 down deep. I've got my roots down, down, down. tiny, and I'm sure so does yours. Put us all together, make a mighty roar. The movement, I negate the chaos, uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen.
So I'm going to turn it back over to Amos, who's going to lead us in a candle ritual.
Okay, I have to do a little maneuver here to get the candles in place. Please bear with me. Oh, I'm sorry, that can make people sick. Okay, so if everyone, there was a reminder or suggestion that if you wanted to bring a couple of candles, so if you still want to do that, now would be the time. We suggested 2 visually different candles. 1 second, please, because I need speaker view. 2 visually different candles for obvious, maybe, reasons, given the theme of our service today. And I'll just say that if we had done this ritual in person, we would have, Autumn and I would have each had one of 2 different candles, joined our flames together, separated again, and gone to either side of the room, each lit one person's candle, and then had them pass the flame along until the whole room was everyone was holding a candle. Let me see, I want these to be in there. That one isn't in there. Okay, well, I'll do my best. This ritual is adapted from the Marsh Chapel at Boston University. And first I'm going to light that one. And then hoping that this one will catch. Yes. Okay, here's the other. We light many candles this morning. Candles of unity for manifold voices. Candles of simplicity at the heart of things. Candles of joy despite tears. Candles of courage when fear flares. Candles of hope in the face of despair. Candles of peace amid strife. Candles of grace to leaven all struggle. Candles of love for now and all time. I'm going to leave the candles lit until the end of the service. Thank you. And Autumn is going to close us out.
Before I do that, Amos, I would love to see everyone hold up their candles for those of you who have chosen to participate, so we can just see the light around the beautiful.
So nice. So nice.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for that, Autumn.
Oh, you're very welcome, Amos. And I just echo the sentiment around how impactful it would have been to be together with you all in person. So if I can just soak in your Zoom boxes as much as possible, I will. All right, so I am going to close us out with a closing blessing, and it comes from Nadia Bowles-Weber, who is a Lutheran pastor, and I've adapted it with the words from Max Ehrman, who, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, is it Desiderata? It was a poem that was always hanging in my grandmother's bathroom when I was a child. So here we go. These are Nadia's recreated Beatitudes, adapted by me and Max Ehrman. Blessed are the agnostics. Blessed are they who doubt, those who aren't sure, who can still be surprised. Blessed are they who are spiritually impoverished. Blessed are those who have nothing to offer. Blessed are the preschoolers who cut in line at communion. You are a child of the universe. You have a right to be here. Blessed are they for whom death is not an abstraction. Blessed are they who have loved enough to know what loss feels like. Blessed are they who don't have the luxury of taking things for granted. Blessed are they who can't fall apart because they have to keep it together for everyone else. Blessed are those who still aren't over it yet. Blessed are those who no one notices, the kids who sit alone at middle school lunch tables, the laundry guys at the hospital, the sex workers, and the night shift street sweepers. Blessed are the forgotten. Blessed are the closeted. Blessed are the unemployed, the unimpressive, and the underrepresented. Blessed are the meek. You are a child of the universe. You have a right to be here. Blessed are the wrongly accused, the ones who never catch a break, the ones for whom life is hard. Blessed are those without documentation. Blessed are the ones without lobbyists. Blessed are foster kids and special ed kids and every other kid who just wants to feel safe and loved. Blessed are those who make unpopular decisions. Blessed are the burned out social workers and the overworked teachers and the pro bono case takers. Blessed are the kids who step between bullies and the weak. Blessed are the merciful, for they totally get it. Blessed are those for whom blessings were never in the cards. You are a child of the universe. You have a right to be here. Thank you for joining us this morning. If you'd like to make a donation to ChIME, and I think Amos may have mentioned this in the beginning as well, but I was reeling from embarrassment from having stopped that beautiful song short for you all. You can go to chime.org, or I will put a link in the chat. And we do have senior presentations this morning and afternoon, but I do believe that we have some time for fellowship together. So if you want to stay after the service and chat, we invite you to do that too.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Autumn.
Thank you, Amos.
Thank you both. That was just magnificent.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Amos and Autumn. That was so wonderful to listen to and just sort of get like an insider's view of how this service was made. And it was just so unique and powerful to listen to. So thank you.
I agree. I think you guys rocked it, and both of your reflections really touched me in a very deep way.
And I'd like to add, I'm Amos's niece, and learned something about her that I didn't know, and just came to appreciate all that I do love about her. And Autumn, you were a wonderful contrast, to use your words. So it was really very powerful and more moving than I would have thought. So thank you both.
Thank you, Molly. LLB.
LLB.
I have to say that I loved how inclusionary this is, because for me, it is the very definition of interfaith. So the fact that you played off of each other's styles with such grace and generosity and invited us into, as you called, a circle of belonging. Lovely way to celebrate Mother's Day. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
I loved your words and I loved the music. It was such provoking and different music, and it just brought me joy and depth. Thank you. Thank you for a lovely service.
I'm so grateful right now for Zoom. And I got to overlap with Amos our first year at ChIME, and it's amazing to see you and hear you. And I just loved the whole overlap and connection that you and Autumn shared as co-leaders of the service. It was really beautiful, and I'm really grateful.
It was not provoking. That's not what I meant to say. And it was actually inspirational. So thank you. I don't know where that came from.
Provocation can be inspiration, Jane. I want to reiterate a little bit of what Terry Mittman said, since I knew Amos in my first year. I still know Amos, but spending more time with Amos in our first year and Autumn, I've had some really wonderful interactions with you on weekend seminars. But I kept thinking, well, first of all, I can't stop crying. There were so many beautiful things in that service. I'm having trouble keeping myself from crying, but I kept thinking all through it, they're like two flowers. They're like two flowers, two really different, beautiful flowers. So thank you.
Well, that was the most harmonious counterpoint service I have ever experienced. Can you hear me? Thank you. Thank you for offering that up. And the image of the tide halfway in and halfway out, I think, was a very good, rich ground, fertile ground for both the hardness and those edges and the gentleness to commingle in that place of cooperation. That was a nice image, and the music, incredible. I really enjoyed that. Clearly, you put a lot of thought into it, and feeling, and you met us right in our vulnerable place of being all gentle and edgy with each other. Thank you for welcoming us into your circle.
Thank you both so much. I really, in watching all of these student-led services, and as a first year, I'm just continually impressed and just inspired by how many different ways there are to lead a service, and your giving such insight into your process was something that I hadn't really thought of, but I deeply connected with, and I will definitely keep that in my, in my little toolbox, as they say, as to how to proceed. But it was really beautiful. Thank you so much.
I will add my gratitude to you both, Autumn and Amos. Thank you so much for gathering us this morning, and for what is a wonderful kickoff to our senior day of the first half of senior projects, where we will get to dive further into the diversity that is among us in our circle. So by way of sort of transition and announcement, our first presentation begins at 10:40. And so if you are here for senior project presentations, you are free to step away. You're free to stay logged in. The first presentation is Jill's. So if you're here by invitation for Jill's presentation, feel free to stay. Otherwise, we will in a moment invite all of our guests to depart, and we'll wave you off and wish you farewell and thank you for coming. ChIME students, please make sure you're back on screen by 10:35 so we can just circle up and connect before Jill's presentation at 10:40. Thank you all. And again, thank you guests for coming for the service. Thank you for being here. We appreciate our extended community.
Thank you. Wonderful Mother's Day gift. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Hi, Sonia.
Peace.